truth is, if we're competing, we're already losing. The highest level of professionals in the industry don't compete. They differentiate. Every great business has something that makes it feel like a monopoly. So when we sound the same, we'll get paid the same. When we present the same, we get compared the same way. Don't be another version of something that already exists, but our presence has to justify our price, whatever difference that might be. You will always find someone who can do it cheaper. My job is to make sure you don't have to pay to have it done twice. Why would you? We're not on the same level.
Looking forward to another great show. This time we're going to be talking about competition, but maybe not in the way that you're thinking of. We're going to be talking about how competition is for losers. And so if you're interested in that provocative concept, we're going to dig into it in a little bit here. First, we're going to kick it off with an introduction with Brian and myself, and we're going to start it off with a quote from Brian.
Actually, a quote from Nate, because you already said it. Competition is for losers. Peter Thiel from the book 0 to 1.
Oh, okay. So there has to be more to this quote than meets the eye, I think.
Yeah.
Or the ear.
Oh, that's enough, right? But that's how he opens an entire chapter of the book. Really good book, but I'll say it's a fairly dry, not uninteresting, but it's not that compelling of a book to listen to, at least. Maybe reading it, completely different story, but also could always be the mind frame I'm in while reading it, but I wanted to get through it. But that's how he opens a whole chapter. And when I first heard that line, it smacked me in the face because it's the exact opposite of, for the most part, what we believe, what we're taught, what we run at. And he's certainly not saying don't be competitive, right? Every technician out there thinks the goal is to compete. Every business owner out there thinks the goal is to compete with the other teams in their market. But the truth is, if we're competing, according to Peter Thiel, we're already losing. So pros, the highest level of professionals in the industry, don't compete. They differentiate. Position themselves
there it is.
so clearly, confidently, and undeniably that the client never thinks about the low-priced competitor. Like they don't even exist anymore. And that's the entire premise, or at least what I'm taking out of it so far, maybe 3/4 of the way through it, of 0 to 1, is don't be another version of something that already exists and try to do it slightly better like we do, or even the same, and just hit that growth pattern. Because that's going to leave us fighting over scraps. And he uses these examples. And Mark Zuckerberg's one of the people who wrote, what do they call that, right? The foreword for it or whatever,
yeah,
wrote praise for the book. And it's about all these guys like him who he didn't have anyone to compete with, right? These guys just built monopolies. They built so much value that they're the only logical choice.
Well, it's a great way to set up the conversation, Brian. I'm sure we'll dig into it deeper here in a moment. But for right now, we always like to take the introduction to spend a little bit of time highlighting somebody who has highlighted the show and taking the time to leave us a review. That's something we always appreciate. And if you haven't done it so far, maybe today's the day that you'll choose to do that. Scroll down in the podcast and look for the 5 stars, hit that, and leave us a comment. We'd love to read it on air, such as this one. Brian, who do we have today?
Awesome podcast. 5 stars. Burton and Nate never rest in bringing on the most informative and inspiring guests. Jim from AirServe.
Nice. Thanks, Jim.
Appreciate that, bro. That was written back February 10th of 2025. So little did he know we were going to take a significant break in bringing on inspiring and informative guests. Right?
We have, in fact, taken a rest.
Yeah, it's been the Nate and Brian show. I got a call from, funny enough, my daughter's best friend's husband's dad. Don't know him. Haven't even met my daughter's best friend's husband. But this would be my 20-year-old daughter, if that wasn't obvious, today. And he's in a world where he's trying to get onto podcasts and he heard about the show from his son and looked it up and wanted to get some advice. And he looked at the guests we've had and he's like, how do you go about getting guests on? He wants to be invited on to certain types of, not ours, but like a certain type of podcast. And I'm like, well, funny enough that you're asking me this question right now. We've taken a significant break from booking guests and really moved into I would say, if anything, putting the time and energy that I usually spend trying to get the higher level guests on into building episodes and content. And, I repurpose it. So it's pretty selfish. Like I'm using a lot of it from my Monday morning training with my bros here in Scottsdale at Ben Franklin Plumbing. And then I'll use it maybe for Wiser Wednesday, which is a nationally broadcasted training I do with a guest speaker every week. Everybody's welcome to join us on there if you want to be added to the list. It's a free live training with huge guests, Q&A. Don't ask anything of you. Just shoot us an email, service@wastenoday.net, and we'll get you on that list. Again, we ain't asking for anything. Just shoot us an email, service@wastenoday.net. And then Thursday Q&A in bluecollarcloser.com, our sales training platform. I do a live call most Thursdays. Sometimes I'm having guests do that. Logan Altland's back on this week. My man, $3 million electrician. But I'll repurpose all that stuff a little bit, right? So, right, try to get like a good intro or a couple good long clips written for this and then repurpose them. But I've taken the energy I used to spend trying to get these guests on and just put it into the show. Because if we're being frank, of our top 10 most downloaded episodes, what was it last time? Six of them.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
Don't have a guest. It's just me and Nate. And then the other ones are like Andy Elliott, Brent Buckley, Brian Tracy. I haven't checked in a long time. I'm guessing Jocko's going to be up there now. Maybe Chris Voss. I don't know. Yeah. But most of them are no guest episodes. So that has to tell us something, right? It's that Nate and I aren't the only ones who just truly enjoy the sounds of our own voice. Not each other's, though.
We need better guests.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what we've tried to do. But I appreciate the shout out, the 5 stars, and the credit for bringing in informative and inspiring guests. You can bet that when we do start getting more guest heavy, which I do plan to do in 2026, they will be informative and inspiring guests and people that we genuinely either want to hear from or have conversations with, because we think that we will get smarter, and therefore hopefully the audience will get smarter as a direct result. So yeah, that's the plan.
I look forward to that. And thank you again for the review. And as always, if you feel the show is worthwhile and has done you a service, we ask for a service in return. Leave us that 5-star review. We would appreciate it. It's time now to put us in your passenger seat once again. And we're looking forward to a good conversation today. We're going to cut to that right now. We're talking about competition. And I tell you what, Brian, one of the biggest elements of competition in the home services industry, or maybe perhaps just in business at large, is pricing. It's always something that comes at the forefront of many conversations. It's certainly going to come at the back of a conversation if you haven't hit it up front. And it's always going to be part of the equation, right? And what is pricing? What does it mean? How is it valued? How is the client interpreting your price? How are they comparing it against other prices? How does your price match up in terms of value against the market? And what is the market willing to sustain for the value that you are bringing? These are all great questions, but relevant to our topic, which is competition is for losers. What does that mean for pricing, Brian?
Well, pricing isn't certainly not the only metric that I wanted to talk about this on, but it would have to be, if you're in the mindset where you're constantly getting beat on price and trying to figure your way around it, well, this is the only part of it that's going to pertain to you or how you're going to feel about this episode. So it's certainly an important part. I guess it's kind of exactly what the episode's about in that case. How to dominate the home so completely that low-priced competitors stop being competition and start being background noise to you. Because low-priced competitors aren't your enemy. They're not even a threat. They're not actually the reason you're losing jobs. Their little $9 tune-up, free estimate, $899 installed tankless water heater nonsense. Like, all that stuff only wins when the homeowner looks at you and looks at them and sees the exact same thing, except that their price is a lot lower. That's it. Or only a little bit more value in you, but not enough to make up for that huge difference in how many zeros I have to write on my check. So when we sound the same, we'll get paid the same. When we present the same, we get compared the same way. When we look and sound interchangeable, we will get shopped and the money will go to the lowest bidder. And the moment we get shopped, the lowest bidder is always going to win, right? And I think that's what Peter Thiel means by competition is for losers. The second you let your customer compare you to anyone else, we've already surrendered the frame that we've worked so hard to build, or maybe we haven't worked very hard at all. You know, a place where this hit hard was a month ago as this records. I was in Fort Lauderdale with over 100 friends from the home services at the 4th Waste No Day boot camp, our biggest boot camp yet. And every one of those men and women got on stage. Every single one, 111 people. No hiding, no back row warriors, nobody ducking and dodging. Dude, believe me, there were some nerves on that stage, as you know. There were hands shaking, there were voices trembling, there was a lot of sweating. And what most of the most nervous people said, they would even kind of stop the role play for a sec to go, boy, this is a lot harder up here than it was watching you guys do it from down there, right? But, you know, what did we see as and it always happens, like we get to talking for a minute and the nerves fade and you can kind of watch the panicky person forget to be nervous. That's usually what happens. They get too into the moment and accidentally stop being nervous. And that's when role play becomes role play. So the techs who owned the room were the ones that I would say most embodied the principle that the goal is not to beat the cheap competitor. The goal is to make the cheap competitor not exist by the way that you connect with and interact with this other human being. Because I don't believe there's anyone listening to this who hasn't paid more for something based on the fact that they liked the person they were buying it from more. And that can even be restaurants. Like, do you remember how long we kept going to Tobias Frog when the food got worse and worse and worse because of how awesome Tracy Martin was?
Yeah, for sure.
As a server, dude, her energy was electric. She knew what all we wanted. Like 4 or 5 of us going every time, and she knew who didn't get onions and who wanted ketchup versus ranch for their fries or whatever. Like, she just was on point and made the lunch significantly better than whether the food was great or not. And it did seem like the quality of the food went down a little bit, but then we talked her into coming to work for us. So all's well that ends well.
Or going to Roarstown and you'd walk in and like eye up the host and be like, which side should we sit on?
Do you guys still do that? Yeah. At Roarstown Diner we go to, and like, there was some servers who were great, and there was one or two who maybe should have been put out to pasture 20 or 30 years ago. It was just super slow, man. It would take all morning to get something done, and we didn't have time for that usually. But yeah, in the case of Tracy, we kept going there despite the declining food. She's not a cook, so we can say that, because her service was so good. And that's just one that I could point out that you and I experienced together, but anybody can sit and come up with instances where this is the case. Your job, when you get to that client, is to give Tracy Martin level service, to build a relationship with that person to where they don't, one, your value should be so much higher anyway than the cheap competitor that you don't even need the relationship. Just your explanation of the benefits of using you should outweigh that money. But if it's close, your relationship with that person will push it far over the edge. It'll destroy any sense of, I want to save a few dollars here.
Yeah, I think that's spot on, Brian. And you can take it even, so I mean, I think there's levels to it, right? So like, take cars, for example. Do you think Mercedes is really all that concerned about what offerings Mazda is putting out into the market right now? Like they barely even know that they're still a car company. Like they're just, Mercedes is just doing Mercedes things. And like, they're not pretending to be an econo line. They're not pretending to be anything other than what they are, which is a very high class, very expensive luxury automobile provider. And you can take that as far as you want. And that's one level, which is like, okay, product versus product. We're talking about apples versus oranges, right? Tommy Mello always says, in a world where everybody's selling apples, sell oranges, right? Be different in what you're actually offering. And that's at the product level. But in terms of competition, you can take it even one step farther, which I think is what you're getting at, Brian, which is on the service level, which is often something that I feel like consumers kind of forget about that element of, ironically, the home services industry, because they're so concerned about the thing that is broken. The furnace is broken. The toilet is broken. The switch isn't working. They start worrying about that thing. But like, there's really 75, 85, maybe even 90% of the home services industry is in the service. It's in the knowledge of what you're doing, not necessarily the product that you're using or even the product that you're installing. It's in knowing what product to use, how it goes in, how it's supposed to go in, how it's supposed to work, explaining that all to a homeowner in a way that they can understand and conceptualize, and then doing it at such a high level that they remember you by your first name and not your company. In fact, they might not even remember which company you're from. They just remember that Brian guy's who I need to call again, right? And that is the level of service that makes all competition go away, right? If you're, and this is what the premise is around competitors is for losers. If you're trying to slug it out, giving the same level of service that everybody else is giving, you're a hot mess of competition. Your level of service needs to be so far and above, so high, so memorable that they remember you by your first name. And that's going to be their first look, their first call, their first text, their first ask whenever they have a problem come up again.
Yeah, and that's not getting easier and easier, right? Teams are leveling up these days. Like teams are bringing it. Like as Absolutely. Many of these, whatever you want to call them, who show up with their Facebook ad for, $200 for a heat pump installed and get get a new garage door free with it or whatever. There are 10 that are keeping their prices at a level where they can be a profitable, growing team and just increasing the level of service they provide and getting communication coaching for their team and getting their team in bluecollarcloser.com or something similar. 7-day free trial right now. Check it out. Right. So they're finding ways to level up and be worth what they charge and more valuable in the client's eyes. So that's something that's really happening right now.
Yeah, and it's something that we always need to be cognizant of in the home services industry, which is how to differentiate yourself within the home itself. You'll see it in marketing, you'll see it on billboards or vans or whatever. That's all part of it for sure. But at the end of the day, it's how do you, the person, the servant in the uniform, differentiate yourself. I did a Wiser Wednesday for you, Brian, a number of months ago at this point, and it was about the 7 levels of professionalism. And at the end of that Wiser Wednesday, which is available in Blue Collar Closer, if you ever want to watch that, at the end of the Wiser Wednesday, somebody asked the question about how I think AI is going to infect or interact or invade our space. And it's coming, right? It's coming. It's coming in call centers. It's coming in computers. It's coming in CRMs. It's coming in marketing. It's coming in even the manufacturer of like the people who are making the equipment. They're going to integrate that stuff into it. It's going to be there. Hey, maybe eventually there'll be some robot diagnostics. Who knows? That's coming for sure. But AI is coming. It's here, and it's going to come more and more. And he asked the general question about like, what was my opinion on that? And yeah, it is coming for sure. But I think there's actually going to be a horseshoe to this thing to the degree that people are going to crave humanity.
AI fatigue.
Yes, coin it, TM right now. Boom, done. They're going to crave humanity because they're going to, number one, they're going to get sick of AI that is bad. There's plenty of examples of that. I was just using some this morning and just getting frustrated because it couldn't do simple things. They're going to get frustrated about that stuff. They're going to get frustrated about false AI, which is like, there's plenty of examples of that where, you've seen the Google screenshots of like asking a question, the AI says yes, and then the answer right below it says no. Like you see that stuff. They're going to get tired of that. And 3, I think they're just going to get tired of a fake experience. Like as humanoid as the computer is going to be, it will never be a human. And there's always going to be an element of humanity that is missing from the ones and zeros, because you can't program a soul into it. You can't program emotions into it. You can try to replicate, you can try to duplicate, you can try to pretend, but it will never be the same. And so I think there's going to be some degree of a horseshoe coming back around on this, where people are actually going to crave the human interaction. And there's going to be people who are just going like, I'm done. I don't want it. I don't want the robots. I don't want the machines. I don't want to deal with that. I want to deal with a human. And this isn't me saying to avoid AI. Like you have to embrace it and make it make sense for your organization and your industry and your teams. Yes, you do. But I think there is going to be value in people who continue to refine and perfect what it is to be human and deliver an experience that is above the competition. And it's those people that are going to reap the benefits, because they will become rarer and rarer as society becomes less and less adept at dealing with humans. So continue, faithful listeners, in developing those elements of who you are, becoming a better professional, becoming a better communicator, becoming a better servant in the home, becoming better with a client, and you will stand far and above the competition.
Yeah, the low price competitor doesn't win on price. They win when we fail to communicate our actual value. And this is where Thiel's concept of monopoly comes in. In 0 to 1, he writes that every great business has something that makes it feel like a monopoly, a unique advantage that's so strong that their customers don't even consider alternatives, if there even are any. So what does that look like in the home services? It's not patents or infrastructure, right? It's not proprietary technology. I mean, in some ways it can be, like our Service Titan compared to, what we were on before is such a massive difference of a customer experience. Even like these kind of things can be super beneficial, but your monopoly, technician, salesperson, dispatcher, CSR, customer facing team member, is trust, clarity, presence, the authority with which we speak and present, our ability to walk into the home and immediately make the person or family think okay, we found the person who's going to take care of us, right? Before anything else happens. And we've all had that experience. And you know one thing when you feel that. This is not going to be cheap, right? You never meet a straight up pro who makes you feel that level of comfort and think, I'm going to get off so cheap here. Once they feel that, the $99 tune-up guy in the rusty van with no labeling ceases to exist. That team doesn't exist for them anymore. So we did an episode a few weeks ago on outwitting the low-priced competitor, right? And this almost feels like a part 2, and it kind of is, but it's from a little bit different standpoint. And like, why not? This is something that everyone deals with and always will deal with. And we could probably hit this every third episode and not lose anyone from the audience, I would think. But the low price competitor sells a task, right? And we're selling a transformation. They sell a part, and we're selling an outcome. Selling cheap, and we're selling peace of mind and a backing of a great team and a great person. And most of the time, homeowners, like anywhere you go shopping ever, don't sit there praying for the cheapest option. It's really not what they want. If they're shopping on price 9 out of 10 times, it's because they haven't been given a reason not to. They want the right option, not the cheapest option. Just like you do, just like I do. We want the best fit. But our presence has to justify our price, whatever difference that might be. Yes, Minnich?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I was just thinking about like the massage industry. Like there's an industry that you walk in, you pay money, and you walk out with nothing. Like there is no product, and the service that they're selling cannot be observed or noticed. It's not like a haircut. It's not like a nail salon. It's not like, like a retail store or something like that. Like they're selling a service that is in the moment, how the massage is, releasing muscle tension and all these types of things, which is completely invisible. And there's a lot of massage organizations that they have about the same price point. And like, how are they differentiating themselves? It's, I don't know, $1 a minute or something in that area. Maybe it's more expensive where you're at, Brian. But like, how are they differentiating themselves? Because like you're basically selling the service right there on the spot. And so there has to be some level of why should I use this one against that one against that one?
Yeah.
And that's where this idea of service comes in.
Other than my wife with the Theragun, I've never had a massage in my life. Never been to a masseuse, never physical therapy. I did some, which there's a little bit of stuff there, but yeah, I've never actually laid on that table with my face in the hole. Like, do your work. I can't even imagine it, bro. I get anxiety even thinking about it.
But so
dark, unknown therapy. Room, and like, well, we'll still use the massage thing, but it's like, it is like once you're just face down and they do their thing, I guess the quality, right, of whatever you're looking for, one versus the other, is going to make a difference on whether you go back. But what makes a difference on whether you go the first time or where you go the first time? I mean, is it just I got a cramp in my shoulder and I'm driving by one and we swing, but differentiating there, certainly a quality element. I would say for me personally, quality is going to be second of the massage to the people. Like, are they pleasant? Do I feel very comfortable around them? It's going to be difficult for me to get in that very vulnerable situation.
And like, how do they make you feel comfortable in a, like you said, a very vulnerable situation? I mean, you're not particularly well clothed, and like, you're exposing areas of your body that
I'm good with that part.
most people don't see. And so there's even like small elements to like how they're going to do that. Or for example, like every once in a while, we'll do like an office treat, like admin professionals day or something like that. We'll bring a masseuse into the office, right? Not for table massages,
you hear that?
for like
High level
massages.
CSRs, dispatchers, billing people. You hear this?
Yeah.
Yes. Nate actually brings a masseuse in, and they shut off the conference room, and they send everyone in one at a time to go in there and get a massage by a licensed
But see,
masseuse.
what's nice about it is obviously the massage is nice, which is cool. But there's also the small things, like when you walk in, before you sit down, the masseuse is going to wipe down the entire chair. Like, and she's going to do it for you to see so that it was done. And there's a reason she's going to wait to do it until you're in the room, because she could obviously do it before you get there. It'd be more efficient. But she wants you to see it. She wants you to see it because it's part of the comfort of the experience, knowing that I'm not going to lay down on a germ infested whatever that somebody was just sweating on before. And so like, and there's music and everything, blah, blah, blah. Right. But it's about the experience that you're giving. Are you giving that level of experience? And I've thought about this before, like, I think there's elements that we miss. For example, even your tablet screen or your phone, whichever you operate off of in the home. At some point, if you're selling something, which hopefully you are, you're going to ask that client to sign on your screen. I have like some serious issues with touching other people's phones. Like the minute I touch somebody's phone, it's like, give me hand sanitizer. I need to.
Really?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
weird.
Like it is weird, but like you're going to come across clients who are like that. And listen, I've seen technicians' iPads. They're not always up to like, that standard. And so
this morning,
think about
this morning, I grabbed my iPad. I pop it open this morning at work. Hadn't touched it over the weekend, and my youngest had it for most of the weekend. And I pop it open, and I look at it, and I'm like, "Oh, this looks like Name the Plumber." iPad. Or I'm like, usually when they open them in the shop, I'm like, "Dude, you ask your clients to sign that with their finger." Yeah, smudgy and crumbs, and
but so like, okay, so how could you adopt an element of the massage industry into the home services industry? Here's an idea: carry with you a little microfiber cloth before you sit down to do a presentation.
Clorox cleanup,
whatever you want. Actually, not before you sit down. Yeah. When you sit down at the table, as you're making small talk and conversation, whip out one of those things, wipe your entire screen down, get nice and clean, and then start talking to the homeowner. You don't have to say anything about what you're doing or why you're doing it, but they're going to see it, and they're not going to say anything about it either. But they're going to be like, this guy's a professional. He's taking care of things.
Bro, I sold 884,000 last year. I never wiped my iPad once.
Good for you.
These idiots, every time I put out a TikTok video of advice, it's just like, yeah, customers don't care, bro.
Good for you, bro. I guess you closed 100% then too.
Your conversion rate is 100. Nice. You did 880,000 where we know of a guy at a company like a mile and a half from you that did 2.4 million. You're killing the game. You're lucky clients. But yeah, that's a big thing for sure, to look at a smudged up screen. You're going to ask a client to touch with their finger. Yeah, I would say every morning, Clorox cleanup wipe, just keep a pack in your truck and just wipe the thing down. Keyboard, screen, everything the client's seeing often. And then, keep a microfiber and let them see you just rub the screen down before you get started. Why not? Take a little pride in your everything, right? Clients like that kind of thing. Not every one of them, but enough of them do that it's worth doing.
For sure. And again, we're talking today about competition is for losers. Like, think of the best service experiences that you've had in whatever industry you can think of. Hotels, cars, massages, batting cages. Like, I don't care. Like, name an industry. Think of the best experience that you've had there, and then tell me why it was like that. Why was it far and above any other competitor in the area or in the industry? What did you remember? What made it stand out? What makes you go back? That's what we mean when we say competition is for losers, because you're not playing in the dirt anymore. You're above that. And yes, Brian, to your point, everybody is generally getting better, which means that what used to be the shoe covers of 10 years ago is the standard of today. So, how are you going to elevate? How are you going to invent or innovate the new version of shoe covers for your industry?
I did a video about shoe covers not too long ago.
Floor savers. My
I don't know
apologies.
what it had, like 60 comments or something, and I bet 12 of them were guys saying, I don't ever wear those stupid things. Customers don't even like them. If I got mud on my boots, I just leave them on the porch. It's like,
Walk
I
around in
remember
your holy socks.
1998
Okay.
too. Yeah. Like, imagine what this electrician's feet smell like, and he's pulling his boots off in the living room. Yeah. So how are we? The conversation happens, right? We've done everything well, but still the conversation's brought up about quote unquote the cheap guy. The worst thing we can do, I feel like, is attack cheap guy directly, right? Because it makes us feel and look defensive. And we don't ever want to be perceived to be defensive. And we definitely don't ever want to feel defensive, because it puts us at a weaker prey state, right? Almost a being chased state. The customer thinks, why are you so worried about that other company? I would say a professional is going to stay somewhat neutral, calm, factual, and confident. Say things like, like anything, you will always find someone who can do it cheaper. My job is to make sure you don't have to pay to have it done twice. It's firm, respectful, but it positions us as the adult in the conversation between the three parties, not just us and the client. Cheaper work isn't a problem until something goes wrong. My goal is to make sure nothing goes wrong, right? Calm authority, no bashing, no drama. We'll never win by insulting a competitor, ever. We win by highlighting the difference in process. Here's everything our install includes. Here's what we do to test afterwards. Here's our guarantee. Here's what happens in the event that you actually have to use our guarantee, right? So not just we have a 2-year warranty on this. That doesn't really mean that much to the client, but for the next, until, as this records, until December of 2027, if anything happens, you pick up the phone, you shoot me a text. That's how I would still do it. Or you call the office, or you jump online and book an appointment, and we'll be out directly to take care of this at no charge. Right? That give them that peace of mind feeling in it. Because warranty doesn't mean anything. Most people have the horror story about a quote unquote warranty that meant absolutely nothing when the part or service failed, and they felt like they got taken advantage of, despite the fact that the person was so confident when they said warranty, right? So walk them through the process of what it would actually look like if they had to use or exercise that guarantee of yours. Not what it is, what it does for the client.
Yeah, there's an old saying, something along the lines of like, you either fly with the eagles or you scratch with the turkeys, right? And I think the concept there can be played out in a number of ways, but one that comes to mind is the restaurant industry. And there's two steakhouses that I thoroughly enjoy both experiences. So just to be fair, one is Texas Roadhouse, which is great, great place to take the family. Love me some rolls and some cinnamon butter, just delicious, right? And the other one is Ruth Chris's Steakhouse. Okay. And the reason I bring this up is because Ruth Chris's does not worry about what offers or menus that Texas Roadhouse is doing. They barely know they exist. They barely know they exist. You go to Ruth Chris's, they're not asking you like, hey, if this menu is a little too expensive, like we do have some off menu items that are more on the economy line. No, they're not pretending to be anybody else. Like they're going to deliver Ruth Chris's 600-degree plates when they come out onto the table, and chocolate sin cake afterwards, and everything else, and it's so good. But they're not worried.
You mean if you
about
complain about the price, they're not going to, the server's not going to go to the back and get the manager and ask him, what's the best we can do on this steak today?
Before I after I eat it.
I'm not sure I believe that, Nate.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's real, right? And so like there's an element, and I personally had to come into an acknowledgement and acceptance of the fact that it's okay to be expensive if you back it up with service and quality that is above par. And some of you out there are probably still struggling through that in your mind. Some of you have adopted that, and that's fantastic. Some of you might have slouched off a little bit, and you're no longer providing the level of service that you should for your prices. Some of you, the competition, if you will, has caught up in your market, and now you're actually not the number one price in the market anymore. Well, are you okay with that? Is it time for you to raise your prices? Is it time for you to level up? Or are you enjoying being back in the competition?
Man, I was to take it back a little callback. I was at Texas Roadhouse for, let's say it was like my stepdad's birthday. It would have been like early March 23 or something like that. And then maybe a few weeks later, my wife and I came out to Arizona as we were going back and forth with Mike Brewer about coming here and joining this team. And I forget I think it was like a Friday night. We were trying to go to like Steak 44, which is a really nice steakhouse here in Arizona. And then Dominic's and a couple other ones, and they were all booked up. So we ended up at Ruth's Chris. It's funny because like Mike was bummed. He's like, I want to take you to a real steakhouse. I'm like, hey, remember who you're talking to, bro? Detroit guy. Like, I didn't have a steak till I was a teenager. That wasn't Salisbury and a TV dinner. So so it wasn't maybe a couple months apart, I feel like. But I remember sitting there eating the Ruth's Chris filet and thinking it's 2.5 times the price of the Texas Roadhouse filet. One, Texas Roadhouse, their rolls were way better. I'm sorry, Ruth's Chris. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But the steak, the filet, they were both really good. Now, is it Ruth's Chris? No, it's Morton's of Chicago. Sorry, close. Same thing, kind of a chain, higher end.
Yep.
The steaks were about 2.5 times the price. The service was definitely better at Morton's of Chicago, but there wasn't such a difference in texture or taste that I would have just, if you put the two in front of me in my kitchen, I would have said, give me the one that's 2.5 times the price. Now I'd pay 2.5 times the price to get the level of service that I got, and the white tablecloths, and the people just, even the waiters and waitresses just dressed up in really nice clothes. I love the atmosphere.
Brian,
I love a level of service.
2.5 times just to not listen to country music.
Oh, 100%. I didn't even remember that. Is that what happened? I feel like I should be much more angry about that trip. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I don't even remember that. Yeah, surprised. I'm like scarred. I can't even recall it. So traumatized.
Just locked out.
Yeah. But yeah, you would pay the extra for the service. It's not that the food is that much better. And what are we talking about? A freaking P-trap, right? A toilet rebuild, a UV light and some duct work, a panel swap, little bit difference in material, a little bit of a difference in the way it's installed, hopefully a little bit higher level of integrity in the way we put things in and own our installations and our repairs. But there are some real high quality cheap guys out there. They do quality work. They don't tend to be able to build a heck of a relationship, and they don't tend to serve at the level that we should be serving at. And people will pay more for that privilege.
So, Brian, one of the things that our listeners might be wondering is, okay, let's say that I do work at Ruth Chris's, but I'm in a market that has lots of Texas Roadhouses in it. How am I to gracefully refer to the Texas Roadhouse while I'm working at Ruth Chris's? I don't want to come across as braggadocious. I certainly don't want to tear them down. That's not going to do me any favors. But what does the proper way of addressing the Texas Roadhouses, which I love Texas Roadhouse, so, what's the proper way of addressing that
right,
when I work at
I'll
Ruth
do
Chris's?
it then. I'll dress them down.
There went that sponsorship.
Well, here's the thing. This is what Peter Thiel's talking about. Why would you? We're not on the same level. Now, if the client brings it up, are you kidding me? So what was it? It's like $80 for a filet, right? Versus like $30 at Texas Roadhouse. So if I'm sitting here looking at the menu and I go, bro, that's a maybe 8-ounce filet, 8-ounce filet. You want $80? The exact same 8-ounce filet is $30 down the street at Texas Roadhouse. So you can easily take some shots. You go, yeah, if you don't mind blaring country music and everybody's in jeans and your feet stick to the floor a little bit and there's gum under the table. Like it's all kinds of things you can use, right? But if you don't want to go that route, and in our trade, we don't want to go that route. It's just to say, hey, I completely get it. It is an affordable option for families who need a more affordable option. If you want a little bit higher level of service and experience, this is where you come to get that. And if you believe the steak is significantly better, then you should say it. I like what most of my clients say. Everybody knows you can go down the road and get a cheaper steak. What most of the people we serve say, the reason they come back here is because the service is significantly better. The atmosphere is more to their liking. And let's be frank, the steak is a much better cut of meat and cooked better.
Yeah, and I think that's perfectly
should be enough.
fair, right? But I really think, tearing other people down, like to your point, Brian, it's not going to do any disservices. I don't like hearing that as a consumer. I would not want a professional in front of me to, talk about, slander them and all that stuff. Even if it was true, even if it was,
but you can do
even
it.
If it was
you
true.
can do it. You can still be sly about it, right? You can, like the guy says it. You can look at his wife and go, "Bro, this ain't your guy's first date. What are you in high school? You going to your prom dinner? What are you talking about? She's worth a steak at Morton's of Chicago, right?"
But I don't think the home services industry is served by doing that. So if you are doing that, knock it off, because you sound unprofessional.
There's no way to do that and maintain your authority and credibility. You're going to tear you down as much as you tear your competitor down.
So there are things that do shut people down, specifically some moves that can shut down price shoppers before they even start. So let's kind of look into that a little bit when it comes to the price shopper and what they are looking for, and some things that the home services professional could do that are going to shut them down.
That are going to shut the price shopper down or shut the cheap guy down?
Well, I think we can look at both of it, really, because there's going to be clients who are certainly price sensitive. There's going to be clients who are definitely price driven. And then obviously the competition comes into both of those categories.
I would say you got three major moves that you're going to make. One is to slow down your presentation, slow down your body language, slow down your rate of speech. Use some pauses, right? But low pulse, high price, low pulse. Use some pauses in there. Allow the client to talk. Maybe even give them a one or two Mississippi after they finish a sentence, and just kind of nod like I'm doing right now. And guess what? If you've never seen me doing this kind of thing, we are releasing these things in video form on YouTube now. That's right. Should be a link in the show notes to YouTube. If not, look me up. Probably like Brian Burton, Blue Collar Closer, Waste No Day. I don't know. But yeah, you can see these episodes are now being released in video. But slowing it down and breathing, presenting maybe more like the surgeon than the car salesman. You're not the sham wow guy, right? You want cool, methodical, controlled energy. And that, I think, takes the nervousness out of the person that you're talking to. Move two, which is a much bigger one. We've been on this one a lot for a long time, is selling with questions, is talking with questions, is letting your sentences end with a question mark instead of a period or an exclamation point. How long do you plan to stay in the home? How important is long-term reliability of a repair or an installation like this to you? Have you had issues with this system in the past? Right. These kind of questions that create ownership. And I think that ownership kills price shopping. When the customer verbalizes their own priorities just by cognitive dissonance, the price has to become secondary to them. And then showing the future, making the consequence real. You know, if they're not really buying parts and equipment, they're buying the future outcomes. So paint the picture. Here's what today looks like if we do nothing. Here's what it looks like if we take care of this for you and fix it the right way. And people pay more to avoid a future they don't want than to get a future they do want. I think these three overlying moves, they'll make the price, if not outright irrelevant, just less and less relevant compared to the value they're going to receive, and shift the conversation away from cost and toward that outcome. They turn comparison shoppers into buyers. Listen, if you are getting the crap kicked out of you on price day in, day out, just rewind this, start over, and understand that you're doing the opposite of all these things. And I would say that the biggest one is probably being so quick to fire off options without engaging in real deep, purposeful conversation with questions with that client. And look, the process is so easy with you doing 12 minutes of getting to know the client and their situation before you're firing off prices. Why wouldn't they do that 2 or 3 more times? So I'm out 36 more minutes and I got 4 bids. Now make it an hour 45. Really get to know them a little bit. The connection that you're building with them in that time is also going to be hard for them to turn away from. On top of the fact that if they're thinking it's this long to get quotes out of you, I don't want to do this more times, right? With people I don't know. I'm pretty comfortable with you here now. So I would say the biggest one is going to be slow it way down, calm down. Nervous energy doesn't belong there.
I think about that, Brian, and one of the biggest prerequisites to presenting price is building that value. And number one, like, price should not be entering into the conversation anytime in the immediate beginning of the call, right? Like this is a conversation we're going to have later. But so much of that later conversation, when you are going to discuss price, because it's going to come up, like you can't present without having price. So it's going to come up, is in, have you built the value prior to that moment so that you can actually reflect upon that experience rather than pretend of what the future is going to hold. Let me phrase that differently. If you have not demonstrated high levels of value and professionalism and attractiveness in all of the moments, from your truck pulling up to their home, to entering through the door, to having the initial conversation, to doing the diagnostic and whatever else you're there to do, to then get to the homeowner. If you haven't demonstrated value and professionalism through all of that, good luck promising that whatever you are proposing for them to do is going to come with superior levels of professionalism and value. You understand? You have created a hypocrisy in your presentation if you do not first extend professionalism and value. There's no reason for them to believe that you would ever futurecast that into what you are proposing. It makes no sense. Think of it this way. A couple months ago, I was in New York City for a meeting, and I went to a building like on One Vanderbilt Drive, like a high-rise, 80-story building. I walked in that lobby, which was highly secured. You had to go up to a desk. You had to get your picture taken. You had to give them your name and everything else. Then they would grant you access to the elevators, and you could only go to the floor of the building in the elevator that you told them you were needing to go to. So all these security measures, of course, it's 30-foot ceilings and everything's marble and granite and whatever else, and there's security guards, and you get up to that level, and we go into a conference room that's on the corner of the building and glass walls and all this stuff. Nobody had to tell me that this was an expensive building or how much it cost to rent the conference room, or that the people there were highly paid. Nobody had to tell me those things because I experienced it before we ever got to a place where I would have even asked that question. Nobody should be particularly surprised that you have high prices when you are demonstrating the caliber that high prices deserve in all of the moments up to and when you present that price. And just like I was saying, if you demonstrate that well, number one, it should match up with the price, because now you actually have creditability. You have the bona fides of the experience that you've already given to the homeowner to rely upon. Then you can ask questions like, hey, Brian, let me ask you something. Have you enjoyed the experience, the service that I've provided to you thus far? Have you felt like it has been commiserate with a true professional? Has it stood out against any other home services professionals that you've had in your home recently? If the answer to those questions is yes, 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 then would you also believe that the product, the service, the team that I'm standing behind in terms of these recommendations would also carry with it that same level of professionalism that you are now experiencing? See, you can't live in a world where you present a two-faced option, where you are slumming it, hiding in the corners, doing your thing in the basement, barely talking, using one-syllable words and grunts to communicate, or just pretending like the client doesn't even exist, and then go upstairs and ask for $10,000. And then try to tell them that you're the best in town and that we have the best warranties and the best service and the best, et cetera, ... You can't do that. The experience that you deliver at the front of the call is equally as important as any level of experience that you're going to deliver post-sale. In fact, probably more so, because you've already set the stage for who you are and what the client believes they will get with any level of purchase. Well, Brian's shaking his head, which means that he's out of content, and so am I. So that means that it's time to cut to the end of the show. Love how we always have this clearly mapped out. We know exactly how we're going to put a period on this thing. But we hope that you did enjoy the show, and we hope that you'll share it around.
We got to do a thing, right? All right. I'm going to start I'll do like a mustache rub the bottom of my nose from here on out and take her home.
Exactly. We hope that you did enjoy the show. And tell you what, if you are feeling like you are back in the competition, it's time to reevaluate. Maybe you need to level up, or maybe you need to understand where exactly you have fallen short of how people think that you are delivering that service or how you think you're delivering that service. And if you enjoyed the episode and it was thought-provoking for you, because competition is for losers, then share it around and let some other people know not only about the show, but about this episode specifically and how it could benefit them. We'd love to hear your feedback as well. You can always find us in the Waste No Day group on Facebook. You can hit us up in the comments there, or you can join Blue Collar Closer at bluecollarcloser.com, and you can find us in a much more interactive way on the Blue Collar Closer school platform, which is specifically designed to help you build value, in fact, in front of the presentation part, during the presentation part, and after. And it's a great opportunity for you to learn how to level up and be a difference maker in your market when it comes to the competition. We're going to leave you now with our weekly challenge, which continues to be the same: to choose to wake up each and every morning and waste no day.